Okay, folks, one of the things you need to understand is that along with everything else the Wilson Combat line offers is a line of lubricants and cleaners for their products. One of the things that a lot of people don't understand, you know, and in my world travels and training, one of the things I've discovered everywhere I go is people seem to be reluctant to lubricate their weapons. It's the number one cause of stoppages I encounter in the business I'm in. If you use a metal frame weapon of any kind, I don't care what make or model, you must lubricate it well to get reliable function. You know, you don't always have to clean them, but boy, you better keep them lubed. As a result, for example, Wilson Combat offers a line of lubricants. This is a basic oil. This is good for most all applications. If you have but one, the Wilson Combat oil will probably do a good job for you. Designed ideally for firearms use, not for any other application, but for firearms use. Really good product. Now, Wilson Combat offers a grease, and for certain applications, the grease, which means it's got very heavy viscosity, has some application. If you're living or training or you're working in an environment where it is really hot, you know what? The grease may have some benefit. It's going to stick to the gun. It's not going to burn off with a lot of high temperatures or a lot of use. If the gun's going to get immersed in water, the grease is probably going to stick to the gun better and perform its function. I warn you, it's not something you want to use in the cold climates. We have a light oil, and again, viscosity is lighter. Where it really shines is if, for example, you got a small caliber weapon, say you're shooting a 9mm. 9mm has more drag, it's more mass to work, lower velocity slide-wise. The light oil is ideally for a gun, say like a 9mm 1911. And let me tell you another thing. As most of you saw in this past winter, near Arctic conditions over many parts of the United States, when it drops down to zero, a lot of lubricants on firearms don't get along well. In that environment, something like Wilson Ultima Light Oil is probably what you want on your firearm to be sure that it's going to function in really cold, near Arctic conditions. The Altima Lube is one that Bill probably is one of the earliest ones I remember he introduced. It's a fairly thick viscosity, but it's kind of a blend between gun oil and grease. It's not as light as oil. It's not as heavy as grease. It tends to, if you put it, for example, on the rails of the slide, it's going to stay there for a lot of shooting and a lot of work. It's going to stick to the gun and provide a good lubrication. I'll be honest with you, I use this quite a bit. Not in the wintertime, but the rest of the time it's pretty darn good. Lube your weapon. Remember these applications and the Wilson Combat lubrication. Wilson Combat also offers some cleaning agents. They realize, you know, particularly in a rifle, we're all concerned about copper buildup and carbon fouling in the bore. One of the things they offer, for example, here's a product that's designed primarily to cut copper. So as you shoot your rifle a lot, you particularly remember how fast you shoot it, how hot it gets, all are factors that are going to determine how that barrel wears and how bad it fouls. This is a copper fouling remover. Basically, it's designed to deal with the copper buildup in your bore. Next product we have is a bore polish. Once you've cleaned the bore real good, to clean it up to make sure it's good and smooth, the bore polish is basically a great compound to make sure that barrel's got its uniform, slick, smooth contour. Product that a lot of people don't really think is necessary, but boy, you know what? It does a great job. And of course, finally, the last one we're going to talk about is the carbon remover. If you've got an AR-15 of any kind, you understand that if it's a direct gas impingement gun, the carbon buildup in the operation of that firearm can be an issue, particularly in the bolt carrier group. The carbon remover does just what it's supposed to. It gets rid of the carbon that is built up on your firearm. If you got an AR and you're going to have to deal with carbon issues, you know what? This can be a really handy product. Check it out.